back to my channel. Today I'm doing my very first guest session with one of my best friends, Charlie Clarke, who is also an actress slash AD slash producer slash done a bit of makeup, done a bit of costume, does her own channel.
Does a bit of everything really.
So yeah, basically multi-skilled and talented, which is why I've got her on. As you can tell, today we're going to be doing the subject matter of Harvey Weinstein, but it's not all about Harvey. It's just about the effect that Harvey has obviously had on the film industry, and we are both seasoned actors now, roughly 10 years probably.
Nearly.
Both of us are about 10 years since we went to uni and did that, so we've definitely come across a few toads in that time. So I really wanted to do this video. I've wanted to talk about the effect that that has actually had on me as an actor, on the way that I operate in the film industry, and certainly on the things that I'm willing to put up with.
Yeah.
So it's been a massive movement obviously in media for the last year or two now, probably year and a half, something like that. For me, I've wanted to do this because I've had a really tumultuous time with the industry of film, but prior to that I did a lot of modelling stuff, so some of you may still follow me through from that. It was a long time ago now. I think my first modelling job was like 2008, 9, something like that. So it's been probably about 10 years now. I came across quite a few things that I was not entirely happy about in that time, and I've always been really open and vocal about that. So for me, I followed through to film from then, and my first experience of film was actually a really, really negative one, and it kind of shaped the way that I saw the industry and people from the get-go. And I think I was maybe just really, really unlucky, but I definitely think that that individual preyed on my naivety, I think, and I was new and I was excited, and that's kind of a lot of the issue when we're talking about Harvey, is obviously that a lot of the girls were relatively young and they were quite new to the industry, so he preyed on that naivety quite a lot, and I was certainly one of those people. So that's why I'm discussing it, and I'm older now. I'm nearly 30. I'm 30 next month. So for me, I'm older and wiser, I like to think, and there's definitely been a couple of things in the last 2 years probably that have come up where I have decided against a project for one reason or another. So Charlie, I guess my question to you is, I know you've had a wholly positive experience with film. Yes. Generally. But are there any things that have sort of cropped up in the last few years where it's been a bit questionable and it's sort of shaped your view of it, really?
I never kind of experienced any kind of negativity in the same way that perhaps you did, simply because when I graduated I was a very specific look. Like, I think I've softened out a lot more now, but I was very like rigidly alternative. Like, I had bright, like, pillar box red hair, I had like a shaved side of my head, like piercings, and so I was only ever up for certain types of casting, which obviously limited me. Obviously I've changed my look now, but I don't think because of that I was open necessarily. I wasn't, it sounds awful and I hate myself saying it, but I wasn't the kind of look of woman that kind of casting type that attracted that kind of, you know, the whole kind of like Harvey Weinstein type of character. So in that way I'm very, very lucky, but I think for me I have encountered the whole, oh, you'd be great for the role, we really, really like you, but you're too big. And it's like trying to like
break that mold.
Yeah, and it's been like, but why? Like, bigger girls are attractive, and I think like obviously it's becoming a lot more mainstream now that people like Rebel Wilson are in like the like mainstream. But for me, the negative side of the whole kind of sexual view of women in the industry has come where I haven't got roles because of my size, and it's like, you can't be deemed attractive because you're big, you're curvy.
Sort of fighting that stereotype. And I guess, I mean, things are changing, like obviously with the Me Too movement that came right after the Weinstein scandal. I mean, women are obviously really sort of wanting to get more diverse roles, we want to get rid of sort of ageism and sexism and all that sort of stuff. So I definitely think that tables are starting to turn, but we're such a long way off. Yeah. For certain, like it's not, and it's a never-ending battle. I don't think we're ever really at the end of sexism or
No,
racism.
definitely.
Even we're never at the end of anything like that. I mean, it's hopefully developing and improving as time goes on. I guess our experiences are totally different ends of the scale, which is great for this video because it means you're going to get two completely different viewpoints. I suppose for me, I come straight out of modelling, and it was glamour that I did a lot. So as you can imagine, I was typecast immediately. Coming into film from that, and I purposely went out of my way to have a complete image overhaul. For me, I was well aware that my image was attracting the wrong type of roles, so I purposely went out of my way to play down my hair. I think I went like a brown, mostly brown colour. I took all my piercings out. I covered all of my tattoos. All of my headshots were like just very basic clothing. I purposely avoided any type of shoot like that. I went for really plain and boring as much as possible. So it took me quite a while to be able to build up a new persona, I think is the right way of putting it. But certainly the first film role that I got were well aware of what my history was, and I think I was sort of led down the garden path quite a lot. And unfortunately with that, there was a number of us girls and there was a couple of guys as well. There was sort of like a group of us, and you find that obviously your partner Liam Banks, I mentioned Liam before, Super Freak, who did the graphics for my channel, so I shouted them out in my first video. But Liam is a filmmaker, he is with Charlie, and they do a couple of projects and stuff together as well. And they work as like a collective, so they have lots of different talent that they tend to utilise in all their projects in some way or another, so it's really, really cool. And this was kind of set up in the same way, and we also knew each other. You had a number of actresses and actors, a couple of people that were writers and things like that, so we all got on really, really well. But particularly the women were sort of hurdled into doing certain things, and I felt in my course something wasn't right, but the naivety in me believed everything that I was being told, and it wasn't until I was sort of duped into shooting scenes that I was not necessarily comfortable with, and instantly regretted, and to find that they never really made it into the final edit, and I found that quite questionable. And it's not until a couple of years later where some of the girls actually approached me and said there is actually a sexual harassment case against this person, and you know, he was arrested for that, and it was against some new girls that I had not met at the time. And it wasn't until then that I actually realised exactly what I'd been a part of and what those girls had been a part of, and that actually those scenes were probably never really shot for the film. They were most likely shot for a personal stash, and I have no issue talking about that, because obviously I want to talk about that. I don't want to be in the dark about it all, because that's part of the problem. That we have been perpetuating silence, and I don't want to be one of those people. So yeah, my experience is quite a lot different, and I've had a little bit of guilt about that. Part of me has felt that I stepped back from that group of people relatively shortly after that project, and didn't really have much to do with them or the director in question. But certainly over the last couple of years, when it has reared its ugly head, I have felt a little bit guilt that maybe I didn't come forward to those girls and sort of say, you know what, I think you should avoid doing that project. I didn't do that, and I do have regret about that, I think, and I'm open to holding my hands upon that one. So I'm learning.
So I think like that's all come with like you said, the whole times changing, and I think unfortunately in the past, if a woman ever did say, I'm not comfortable with this, she'd either be fired and never work again, or would just be like blacklisted, because as we know, quite a lot of filmmakers are connected, like massively. People know people who know people who know people.
It's a big small world, isn't it?
And like, you get a bad name for one person, you then get a bad name for like 50 other
Nobody
people.
wants to be the difficult woman, and I think that's been the issue over definitely over the last 10 years that I've been doing film, and probably for you, that you have this, you already are built with this feeling of, I don't want to be a difficult woman. Because the minute you become a difficult woman, it gets around everybody else, you just won't get cast. There's so many other women that are waiting in line for those roles. So that's been part of the issue. Now, I don't mind being a difficult woman anymore.
Neither do I.
And again, that's the naivety that's gone, and also education. I mean, the whole Me Too thing has really re-educated my view on everything, and that actually it's not about just getting roles anymore. It's not good enough, and I'm not willing to sort of sacrifice my integrity. Thank you. My integrity for the sake of a project. So there's just no way that I would be willing to do that anymore. But certainly I do know women that still are. I mean, I have open conversations with lots of friends from lots of different social circles, and there are some out there that don't see a problem with it.
No, and I think like there's a fine line between those kind of roles having a purpose and fitting a project, and people that want to do those roles and making sure that, like, you know, they're safe and they're approached in the right way. But then I think that could quite easily obviously turn into something that isn't quite such a pleasant experience to be in. And I think I still think that's a massive thing that we've got to overcome, is that fine line between what is acceptable, how is it acceptable, and how do we make it as safe as possible? Because that's the big thing, isn't it? It's like, it's the whole keeping yourself safe as a person. Like, you're an actress, sure, yeah, you're an actor, whatever, you're a performer, actor, actress, whatever you want to call yourself, I don't mind. But it's that safety. Like, you've got to keep yourself safe. Thing. Like, you're an actress second, you're a person first. Yeah. And I'm sure, as you've kind of said, like, the experiences you've had an effect on you, not just for like a couple of weeks after the project, but for years.
Yeah, 100%.
And, you know, a negative experience like that with something that's like a sexual nature or something to do with your body, you have to live in your body every day. You have to kind of carry that with you and go through, obviously, processing that, and that's something that can take years. So I think it's making sure that, yes, those roles, I think, will possibly always exist, but it's kind of women knowing and being aware,
like them being roles that are required,
what's safe, what's required, what's necessary, and what's got a bit of a seedy undertone to it. And I think that's something that obviously we've been quite we've grown up a bit in the industry now. We kind of know what we're doing.
Going back to earlier when you said about safety, really, because I picked up on that comment, I thought that was quite important, is obviously we've learned to be safe, and we've learned through probably making mistakes. I've learned the hard way, but, you know, as I said in my last video, I kind of always do. I make the mistake first and figure it out later. So that's just the way that I seem to go about my life. Bit for definite. I've made the mistakes first and learned from them, and obviously know now not to do that. And that's the worry for me, is all these younger men and women, and I'm definitely referring to men. I mean, we've got so many issues with boys being abused in the industry at the moment.
And
I mean,
the whole Kevin Spacey.
Kevin Spacey, you know, the list goes on. So this isn't just about girls, but young people coming into the industry and being subjected to abuse in whatever way, because of their naivety, and they don't know how to protect themselves. The safety comes from everybody around them protecting them. And you know, I'm the first to say that I feel I've enabled in the past. There have been times where I'm not necessarily known what's gone on, but I know something's not quite right. Like I say, the first film that I did, I started to realise something wasn't right, and I didn't speak up about that soon enough, and I should have done. And I have to live with that. You know, I have times where I've thought, you know, God, maybe that girl wouldn't have been abused in that way had one of us women that all went through that before had said something. And that's a horrible feeling, to think that maybe we could have prevented that, and it's shitty. I have to live with that now. So
it's like the fear that's like, it's that fear of your job, especially when you're just going into the industry. It's scary, and like you said before, you do just kind of go, oh, I'll take that role, I'll take this role, I'll take this role, just to build up like a portfolio and a profile, and get yourself out there. But you kind of, you look, like you said, you don't want to be the awkward person that goes, hang on a minute, I'm not comfortable with this isn't right.
Whereas now, you know, I couldn't give a shit, to be honest, and to put it plain honest, you know, there has been something that's come up in the last 18 months, and, you know, we're not a channel of names, and that's not what this is about, but at the end of the day, I had an option, and for me it was not going to work with that person, and I flat out have made that decision, and I've distanced myself, and I will not be doing that project. And I fully believe in what I've been told, and I do, and I choose to believe that, and changed my ways, and I think that is so important as adults in the industry, with new talent coming through that maybe not aware of, you know, the predators that lurk. They're in, you know, wolves in sheep's clothing. There are a lot of them.
They're like hidden in plain sight.
They are hidden
there.
in plain sight, and I do think it's down to us to definitely step up when something doesn't feel right on set and say, this isn't right and I'm not happy. And again, I was very lucky on another project a long time ago, very lucky to have 2 women that did that for me. And that just sort of set a standard, really. It set a precedent, you know, and I just thought, I need to be like that. I need to be stronger. This is bigger than myself.
Yeah.
This whole thing is bigger than us, and it's a collective attitude. And if we're only ever solely focused on our own journey, that's why we have got to where we have got to.
Yeah.
And it's about the collective consciousness of the issue. And I think it's safety in numbers.
Yeah, and I think like with the whole safety thing, like it's not just the on-set safety. It's things like with castings. Like I've been offered a casting meeting before with somebody where I've then said, oh, well, can I just bring like a friend or somebody with me? Like they don't have to sit in the meeting. They can just sit, like if you're meeting in a coffee shop for a chat, they'll just sit at the next table or a couple of tables away so we can chat. And then, you know, I got questioned for why I needed to bring a friend with me. And I'm like, that's like red flag. Like, but going back to when I first graduated and I was fresh into the industry, like maybe I wouldn't have thought that was an issue, but now I'm kind of like, as soon as somebody said, like if I'm like going for a casting, I'm like, oh, can I just bring a friend along just to sit in, or they'll just sit outside, or just so I've got somebody with me that is there for me to keep me safe. Like you said, the whole safety in numbers thing, it's like as soon as somebody questions that, like why do you have to have somebody with you, it's like, well, why not? Why not? What are you?
Again, it's
what's going on?
Thing.
Yeah,
they're kind of putting you in that box of, oh, she's just being difficult. Well, no, it's not about
it's like
that.
With the whole like online dating thing, like I remember like having this ingrained into me by school and by my parents, like when the whole like online dating thing, like always meet up with somebody in a public place. Don't like go alone to like the first meet up with somebody, and like meeting people online. You wouldn't just
runs into work too.
Yeah,
exactly. It goes into
it's like,
work in life, and
it's everything. It's like if you wouldn't like obviously like the online dating type situation, you wouldn't go meet that person on your own in a not private place. Like you hear horror stories of women that end up dead because they've gone to somebody's house for the first time with somebody that have met online. And I very much take like the same thing with castings. Like if I'm going somewhere for a casting or an audition, I make sure that my mum, that my partner, that at least one friend knows exactly where I'm going and exactly what time and roughly what time I think I'll be out. And if I'm not out, I have one of them on the phone to me going, how did it go? Is everything all right?
Yeah. See, I always do the same. I always make sure my husband has, because obviously I go away a lot. I mean, you do, you know, as an actor, it's very rare you working at home. So, I mean, I always make sure that there's full addresses of hotel and location and everything else. And, you know, I check in and I check out. And it sounds really silly, but it is the world that we live in. And, I've definitely got in the habit of doing that. It shouldn't be like that.
No, it shouldn't.
It shouldn't.
You should just be able to go, I'm going to set now, see you in 3 days when I get back from this short film shoot or whatever. But,
you know, that is where we're at the moment. It's definitely changed my sort of, I mean, Hollywood is obviously clouded in, you know, glitter and sparkle and allure, really. And I think it's definitely opened my eyes to it. I mean, obviously when you go into acting for film, like you kind of, your ambition is that, but actually for me, it terrifies me somewhat because I am someone that I want to live true and honestly. It doesn't sit well with me. I struggle if I'm having to not be true and honest to myself. And if I lose my integrity, I struggle with myself. Yeah. So it's not an industry that I would survive well in. And I'm well aware that I would probably never make it to that level, regardless of what talent I have. That could be nil. But talent aside, I would never make it to that level purely on the basis that I would whistleblow far too often. And I'm okay with that. I kind of accept that. I would rather accept that. I don't want to work and live in an industry that finds it okay to abuse children or to abuse women or to do whatever they're doing. So like you say, the problem with independent film is they don't have that level of exposure. It relies on us communicating to get the message out. Certainly a few of us have communicated, definitely. I mean, I've had other friends that, you know, aren't in this room, we've communicated about certain things that have occurred over the last couple of years. You know, we are all well aware of it going on, and it just takes that one person to have the balls to sort of front it out and say, I think this is not acceptable.
We're getting to that point now, which I really love, is the fact that as much as like filmmakers are connected, it's like, oh, you know, people will recommend you if you do a good job. People will say, oh, don't work with that person because they're, you know, they're not very great, they're not very professional. We're now getting to a situation where we as actors and actresses are going, maybe avoid that company because reason, or maybe don't work with that director because I've had a bad experience, or a friend of a friend has had a bad experience. And I think it gives people an opportunity to judge it with open eyes. Yeah. And I'm not in the game of sort of you know, witch hunting people either, or bad mouthing people as a method of getting something that you want. There's a fine line, and I think we're in that process of people being a little bit tentative with it. I can't run from fact, and the fact is most of my worst experiences have been from men in this industry. Even down to trying to badmouth me amongst groups of friends because I've dared speak out. I'm not going to lie for someone. I mean, I pride myself on telling the truth. Yeah. I have evidence if I want to show it. I'm not going to go out of my way to, but at the end of the day, if you're going to go round a badmouth, be sure you're going to stand by that sword. Yeah. Because I am going to grab my proof out and say, that isn't the truth. And it isn't the truth, but they have attempted that. They've tried to smear my name amongst people. They don't like the fact that I have said, this person did this. Yeah. Old me 10 years ago may have been concerned about that with my career and been like, oh no, you know, what effect is this going to have on my career? I mean, now I couldn't give a shit. Say what you want to say. That's how I feel now. Say what you want to say, because I know in my heart of hearts, and anyone that knows me as a person, anyone that has worked with me on set knows that that is not the truth. And I can live with that. So continue smearing all you want. I know you're out there. That's the thing. I may not have said anything, but I know you're out there. The days are numbered, buddy. So I think we should probably look at wrapping up the video now. And I guess a few points to take away from it are safety numbers. So, you know, just looking out for each other, really. And if you spot something's a little bit dodgy, then obviously speak up. Yeah. There's no harm in doing that. Not being afraid that it's going to affect your career. Yeah. Because it's definitely not, and there are a billion jobs out there. So even if there's one that you've kind of said to, then it's not a career ender. No, it isn't. You're not going to wind up never working again. You know, like, you might not get a bunch of roles like really early on in your career because there's not that many roles for younger people. I mean, there's more now as we're telling more kind of social stories there are, but a lot of people didn't really get big until they were a lot older. Much older, yeah. So like your time, you've got time. You've got time not to worry about it. And I suppose that's it really. Like just sticking up for each other in general, and like sticking to your having integrity. Yeah. Like we said earlier on, and just not being afraid to ask questions. Yeah. Like if there is a script that's got some nudity on or got something that you're not 100% on, ask questions like. Find out if it's necessarily needed or if maybe there's another way that it can be shot, because if a director really is interested in you for a role, that they might be willing to maybe tweak the script, tweak the scene a little bit, or tweak the way that it's shot in a way that you're more comfortable with. And those are the kind of directors you want to work with. Don't force yourself into doing something you're not okay with from the start just because you're worried about losing the role entirely. Like, you've got to live with these projects the rest of your life. They're not going anywhere. Like, you know, okay, they may not have global success, so they might not be that easy to find, but they are there. You have done them. Like, there's plenty of things that we've spoke about that I have done, and you know, I own it. I own that shit. There's no point in not. But at the end of the day, they are out there. So understand what you're committing to when you're committing to it, and if you're not okay with it from the get-go, have that conversation. And if that conversation ends in that they're going to recast, well then there's 10 billion other roles out there for you. Yeah. So don't feel afraid. Thank you very much for watching and coming back to the channel. Thank you so much, Charlie, for coming on board and having a discussion. It's not going to be the last time that you see Charlie. I've got a bunch of stuff that I want to discuss with you and bring our other friend Katie on board as well. So yeah, please, if there's some subjects that you want to hear us talk about, or with anybody, or even on my own, then please pop it in the comments.
follow Charlie's channel, which is Charlie Clarke Actress on YouTube, and she has her own segment which is Lights, Camera and a 9 to 5. I keep forgetting that, I've got it this time. Yeah. So yeah, please check her out. She does loads of stuff on there, she vlogs on there, she has open discussions on there. She does loads of beauty blogging, gets invited to events and stuff, so I love watching it. Please go and give us some love. Like, comment and subscribe to this channel, obviously. And then we'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.